Hi guys, I'm Sean and this is Sean Reacts. Welcome to my channel. Guys, please take a moment to subscribe to the channel. That would really help me out. And also remember to give the video a thumbs up at the end if you enjoyed it, okay? Alright guys, so this is going to be another part to, the little vlogging that I'm trying to do, a little bit kind of adding to this channel, trying to just, have some more content, things that are close to my heart, that I'd like to talk about or want to talk about. And this one in particular is going to be, very short compared to that long-winded one that I did the other day. Just that was something that got under my skin. But this, on the other hand, is something that I just wanted to put out there for any parents who may be struggling or going through the same situation or things that I have been going through myself, and feel like I've finally beginning to come out on the other side of it. Because it is a very lonely feeling when you have kids and you start dealing with things that you didn't expect to happen, you weren't aware of, no one ever told you about it, and then you feel like you're like the worst parent in the world. And in reality, you're doing a pretty good job. It's just hard to be able to gauge it based on how things are playing out right now. And what I'm speaking about is definitely something that is going to be geared towards parents, especially moms, but even, some young people may find this to be of use. I don't know, but I definitely feel as a parent that it would have helped me if someone had given me this information. Okay, so what I'm talking about is sometimes, um, as a mom I have 5 kids. I have a 20-year-old, um, a 19-year-old, a 16, almost 17-year-old, should be 17 next month, and a 13-year-old and a 6-year-old, okay? And they are everywhere, all across the board, with attitudes, behaviors, types of things they get into, types of things they like, being problematic to being sweet as pie. I mean, they are all over the board, okay? And I think that's pretty normal because, everybody's individual. No two kids are ever the same. And any parent can vouch for that, okay? All right, so what I wanted to address, though, was this new type of child that we're dealing with today, versus the type of child we were dealing with 20 years ago, 15 years ago, even in some cases 10 years ago, and versus the type of child we were. I'm 45, so I'm pretty up there in age, so I can go way back. But I just wanted to point it out that I don't think it's just me. I'm starting to think, that based on talking to my kids, my 16-year-old and my 13-year-old anyway, that a lot of kids are feeling the way that they feel. And if a lot of kids are feeling the way they're feeling, then a lot of parents must be feeling the way I'm feeling as well. So that's what prompted me to want to put this out there, okay? All right, so what I basically wanted to say is that, um, you may be feeling as a mom or even as a dad or just parent in general, but mostly as a mom, that you're inadequate, that you are somehow not quite up to par to deal with your kids. Kids today are very different. And what I mean by that is they're not so passive. They don't, speak when spoken to. They don't just have that automatic sense of respect just because you're the parent. I would love to be able to sit here and say that I feel like my kids, have that mentality of I'm not going to say anything that's going to irritate or bother my mom. I'm gonna, watch what I say because that's just because that's my mom, or whatever. But that is not the my situation at all. My kids, because of the way I've raised them to be independent, and to be free thinkers, that has had a inadvertent effect. Okay, it was an effect that I didn't intend to have on them, but now when I look at it in a different light, I can see the positive of the effects versus where I was 2 years ago when I felt like it was nothing but a big negative. And I felt like a complete failure as a mom because I had 2 kids that were out of control, didn't, go the way I expected it to go at all. I had one that was, getting to the point of running away. I had another one that was, I knew where he was and had, the checks and balances I thought on him. But just knowing where your kid is isn't the same as knowing where your kid is and knowing what your kid is doing. You can know he's at his friend's house and know exactly where that friend lives, but still not have any idea of what he's doing at that friend's house. You can make a lot of assumptions and you can think and be completely wrong. So that's the type of thing that I wanted to address today. Is just to let parents know you are not alone. You are not by yourself. Kids are very different. Um, just speaking from my own personal experience, um, my kids challenge me all the time. They are always showing me how smart they are, how what a free thinker they are. They don't just conform and just believe everything I say and do everything I tell them to do. They ask questions. Sometimes they ask questions to the point where I'm mad. I feel like stop questioning me. You know what I mean? Like just let me say it and have that be it, and then you just walk away, and that be the end of it. But it doesn't always go that way. They'll very often express to me that they disagree with something that I said or they disagree with something that I did. And like I said, I saw this as like a curse, like, oh my God, why I went wrong. But in reality, I feel like they are very smart and, they're the kind of kids that I think will be very successful. They will get somewhere in life because they have this understanding that their thoughts and opinions matter and mean something, and that they should not just be second to anybody else just based on age or because of the fact that maybe you feel like you have a lot more experience in a certain area, but they recognize that they have a lot of more experience in certain areas too. And so if I feel that way about me, just automatically being smarter than them, there might be some things that they're just automatically smarter than me, and I'm not willing to concede that. So they're not willing to concede either. So yeah, like I said, it was a tough thing to deal with at first, but now I'm starting to realize the beauty in it. Yeah, they do question a lot of things, but that's not a bad thing. You want your kids to question things and to not be 100% gullible and just willing to believe whatever an adult says to them, because as adults, so we make mistakes. We frequently make mistakes. Um, but when we make mistakes, if we have our kids in this mindset that we are perfect and that we don't make mistakes, then when we do tell them something that may not have been the right thing, or we've given them some bad advice, they may hold on to that and, and really not get a full understanding that that wasn't the right thing to do. And if you're, especially if you're a parent that can't admit that you were wrong about something, you can't go back and kind of go over what you said that was wrong, when you realize that you were wrong, you have to be willing to do that. You have to be willing to go back to your kids and say, okay, I said the wrong thing. I did the wrong thing. I told you to do the wrong thing. I gave you bad advice. Because that's a part of growing up. That's a part of being an adult. The world is not going to always sugarcoat everything for them. The world is not going to always bow down to them and give them everything that they want and need and could ever hope for. So, as a parent, we have to be prepared to not do that as well. Although we are tempted to do that, give them everything, that we have, because oftentimes I think if we didn't have everything as a child, if we were lacking, whether it was financially, emotionally, just materially, whatever, if we were lacking, we tend to overcompensate with our kids because we don't want them to feel how we felt, or we just feel like it was something so, detrimentally wrong with the fact that we didn't have this, we didn't have that, we didn't go on field trips, we may not have had the nicest shoes, we may not have had all the same stuff a lot of other kids had. But when you get locked into that mindset that you have to make sure that they have everything you didn't have, and you don't instill in them that ethic of still having to work for something, and it's okay to not have, it's okay to go without, it's okay to be a little bit restrained, even if you can afford to give it to them. It doesn't necessarily mean you should just always give them every little thing, because they do get to the point where they expect it. And once they get to the level where they expect something from you, you start to notice and realize that they seem to be ungrateful for the things that you do for them. And then that's a very hurtful thing when you're going out of your way and giving your kid the world and giving them everything, you know what I mean, going without things yourself because you're giving it to them, and then they don't seem to be appreciative of it, and you're confused and like, oh my God, what have I done wrong, and why is my kid acting like this? Because you just can't understand, how can you be so indifferent to everything that I'm doing for you and not see the big picture, considering that I didn't have half this, and I treated my mom or dad with a lot more respect or whatever, just in the sense of just talking when you were spoken to, you know what I mean? Never questioning what they said and believing everything, all that kind of stuff. And like I said, I think it's just a little trap that we kind of set up for ourselves. So this is my warning to you. Don't fall into that mindset that you have to give your kid every single thing you didn't have. Children need to work. I grew up very humble and grateful for every little thing. Even though we were poor and didn't have anything, every time we got any little thing, I was very appreciative of it, and I'm still that way today. But like I said, I noticed in my own children seem to just, they just don't didn't seem to really show that gratitude that I felt they should show, because I just thought it was an automatic thing if you gave it to them. But the reality is that's not something that's just automatic. It's children have to be put into a certain mindset to be grateful and to be appreciative, and you can't do that if you're giving them everything. You have to give them ways to earn things from you rather than just having them know automatically. When your kid comes in the house and has a field trip and it's $60 and they don't even ask you can they go, they just tell you when the money's due, you've probably fallen already into the trap, okay? Because that shouldn't be the case. Your kid should be coming in there saying, Mom, Dad, I really want to go on this trip. I know it's $60, and I know that's a lot of money, but please can I go? You know what I mean? That's where you ideally would want your kid to be, in my opinion, versus your kid coming in the house and saying, oh, here you go. We got a field trip. The money's due by Friday. It's $60, and you're like, what? You know what I mean? Because they're just so used to you giving it to them and no questions being asked, especially if you'll go through hell and hot water to make it happen, and they see that. So it's not their fault that they're behaving this way. It's the way that they've been conditioned. So it's a very difficult thing to break once it's gotten there. So my advice to you is to stop now. you know and I'm not saying stop, let your kids go on field trips, or stop buying them the latest things that they want and stuff like that. I'm just saying give them a little bit more opportunities to earn some of the stuff that they have, or some of the things that you're going to give them, versus just handing it to them, because it's not going to be handed to them later. And at some point, you're not going to be there to provide it for them. They'll have to do it on their own. So it's okay to have a safety net, under your kid, and to let them know you're there for them and you'll help them if they ever need it. But you don't want them feeling like they're invincible and that they don't have to make good decisions, because if they fail and they make bad decisions, you're always going to be there to catch them. They need to have that little bit of fear of falling, and having it be a hard landing, in order for them to really fully appreciate the fact that you are there to help them if they need you. And yeah, so I just wanted to let parents know it's not just you. You're not being like a horrible parent. You're not doing a horrible job. Kids are very different today. They're exposed to a lot more things than we were ever exposed to. Kids are very political today. My kids are very political. They pay attention. They know what's going on. in the world. They understand more than I ever did, and we have talks about it. We discuss it, and they share their feelings and their thoughts, and they've turned my head around a few times to some things that I was thinking one way on, and they basically said, "Hey, but you ever look at it like this?" And then they said something, and I was like literally like mind blown because here a 16-year-old or a 13-year-old is telling me something I thought I knew every damn thing. But trust me, you don't. I don't care how old you are. I don't care how much you've experienced or whatever. You don't know everything. And yeah, kids can teach you something, a thing or two, because they're experiencing the world totally different than how we did. And yeah, they've got a lot under their belt in just this little short period of time. Just this last couple of years here with COVID, the kids have been paying attention to statistics. They've been noticing all of the drama with the mask versus the people not wanting to wear the mask. They know what's going on with the vaccine. They're paying attention to the rates that people are dying at. They're paying attention to how other countries are handling um, COVID. Their kids are paying attention to stuff that this would be considered news, like literally adult news. When in my time, and even 10 years ago, my kids would have never been interested in something like that. But times have changed, so you have to kind of go along with that and kind of make some changes too if you want it to work out and you don't want to lose your sanity. Because if you keep your own self thinking that you have to be a certain way and your kid has to be a certain way, your kid's not gonna be that way. If they're not the type of child that just conforms and does every single little thing that you say, and they get on your nerves and you feel like they're so combative, then you're gonna have to be the one to adjust your thinking a little bit. You cannot expect them to just do a complete 360 and start thinking on the path that you think on. You had the last 12, 13, 15, 16 years to do that. And if you didn't do it by now, it ain't going to happen. So you're going to have to change the way you think and the way you deal with your children, or you're going to have very strained relationships with your kids. And kids, they have feelings and they have feelings and emotions that are final, just like adults do. So if you set yourself up for failure and you fail, you might be able to turn them around, and get it all back to the way it used to be. But the likelihood of that is not very high. I mean, it'll always be a little something there if you don't show them now, that you care enough to um, want to build the relationship in a more positive direction. And you can't do that by just putting everything on them and making all of the sacrifices have to be on their end. You're gonna have to sacrifice too. You're gonna have to do a little bit of conforming, a little bit of changing, and then when they see you do it and you model the behavior, then you can start, talking to them and getting them to change and conform and model their behavior differently, because they will call you out. They will tell you, when they think you're wrong. And a lot of times they'll be wrong and they won't even see it, because this new way of thinking that they have, that they really have this mindset too. And I want to touch on it for a second, that they know everything because they've experienced a lot, and they have. And trust me when I tell you, they know that compared to what you grew up being exposed to, they know how much different their lives are compared to your life. So to them, that equates to them being smarter than you, and so that they're in that little mindset, even if they don't admit it. You could tell by when you talk to them, especially the teenagers. You can really tell that they. I'm not saying they feel like they're smarter than you, like as a matchup of, okay, I'm 45, you're 16. They think they're smarter than you. I mean, they're thinking, I'm smarter than you were when you were 16. I'm miles ahead of where you were when you were at this age. You know what I mean? Therefore, they have a leg up. So they don't consider themselves to be in that submissive position with you mentally, academically, and everything like that. Okay, especially when your kid absolutely smarter than you on paper. Uh, when it comes down to doing, math and stuff like that, if they've got you there, then you done lost half the damn battle right there, because they really do equate, what they know, and they compare it to what they see that and they may not tell you that, but trust me, that's what they're doing, So you have to be smarter than that, and don't get kind of locked into that trap or whatever. So what I'm basically saying, to sum it up, so this isn't a 40-minute video. um, it's just to understand that you're not failing, you are not doing everything wrong, your kid is not hating you or feeling like you're less than. They love you, they respect you, but they want you to respect them as well. And they are seeing things differently, and they want you to understand that they see things differently, and they're not the same kid you were. And they don't want to be put in that box of a child's place, because that box doesn't exist to them in this day and age. That's something from the past. So you got to throw the box out. Make sure your kids are being respectful to you. Don't let them talk to you any kind of way. Don't let them yell at you or use profanity. Don't let them try to belittle you or make you feel like you don't know what you're doing. But at the same time, you have to be sensitive enough to understand that they are human. They have feelings. They have emotions, and they're not little dumb kids that need their parent to control every little thing about the way they think, how they take in what's happening around them. They get it. They get it. So if you can just open your mind up and realize they get it, and be a little bit more respectful of their thoughts and their feelings, give them a little more consideration. Don't just make all the decisions blindly on your own from them, and then just throw it at them and tell them what you decided. Give them a little, say so in some stuff, so they can understand how the world really works, and that they do have choices, and they will have to make decisions, and they'll need to be smart decisions if they want to have the right outcome that they're looking for. So you can't baby them and treat them like they're the little precious thing that can't be exposed to anything, but at the same time, you don't want to leave them out there hanging on their own either. So it's a balancing act. It really is. I just want you to understand it's not the end of the world. And even if you're crying today and you feeling like you failed, you won't feel that way in a few hours. You won't feel that way tomorrow. You'll get your strength back. You'll get back in the fight, but just take some tools with you when you go back to the fight of parenthood, because it is a fight. You're fighting to help your kid get to that next level. You're fighting to make sure that you give them all the tools that you have in your toolbox, so that they can build their life, and do it the right way. And you cannot do that if you are only giving them bits and pieces of it. You got to let them have it all. Give them all the respect, all the trust, give it to them, and let them show you what they can do. That's my advice, okay? All right, so if y'all want to discuss anything else, don't hesitate. Let me know, okay? All right, so that's going to do it for this video, and I'll see you guys on the next video. Bye.